When you look at the quality of your life, when you look at the things you want to see happen, not just for yourself, but for your children and your children's children, do you have the courage to look in their eyes and say, I didn't have enough time? Sorry you don't have health care. Sorry you don't have a living wage. Sorry you don't have the money to go to school because I chose not to vote.
You can't hold us back. You can't hold us back. You can't hold us back.
Welcome to Be Woke.Vote. I'm Roland Martin, host of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Our whole focus is to engage folks all across this country to get them to understand the power, the impact of voting, and what it means to you and your family. We had some amazing conversations with folks from all walks of life. And joining me right now is someone who gives a totally different perspective as a Hollywood insider, as a pastor, as somebody who sees the world in a whole different way. Give it up, folks, for Devon Franklin.
What's up?
Glad you're here, baby.
Good to see you.
It's interesting when we talk about Hollywood, faith, and politics.
Yeah.
Because we've always had faith involved with politics. But when you think even about our struggle, when you think about Black Freedom Movement, when you think about the role that Harry Belafonte played, and Sidney Poitier, and Diane Carroll, and James Brown, and Dick Gregory, we've always had Black folks who were in Hollywood who understood that they were not just on the big or the small screen.
That's right. They
They were also Ruby Dee, I.C. Davis, I can go on and on and on. They understood we got to use this thing we got.
That's right.
To make change.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, especially now, you know, when the stakes couldn't be higher for where we are as a country, where we are as a culture, when you have the platform in entertainment, I do believe it's important to use it, because the same people that will buy the movie ticket or stream the album or go and support the book, they're the same people. They're voting for what they want to see in entertainment. And now, to me, it's about using the platform to say, hey, it's not just about an entertainment vote, it's about a vote that actually is going to affect the very trajectory of your life.
The reality is, everybody is not going to be as active and involved as Kerry Washington or Jeffrey Wright. They're going to be those people who are going to be raising money. They're going to be those people who are going to be publicly raising money, others who are going to be privately raising money. But the thing for me is, you got to do something.
Yeah, no matter what it is. And I think that's also one of the challenges, is that too often we will look at others and make a judgment on what they shouldn't do. I think we all have to operate based on our convictions, right? And that conviction, especially when it comes to being politically active, is going to take a different shape in each individual relative to who they are, their platform, their background, so on and so forth. But I agree with you that we all, especially in this moment that we're living in, should feel compelled, no matter what our sphere of influence is to do something to help make this thing different.
Look what just happened with Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
So here is here is a young white woman from Tennessee who had look. I'm not going anywhere near politics. Everybody, we all good. We love everybody. But all of a sudden, she's like, "Hold up,
the stakes are too high."
And what got me was, and I will give her credit. She didn't just say, "Oh, hey, I just need y'all to vote." She said, "No."
She did her homework.
She said, "I'm looking at this man, the former governor of Tennessee. I'm looking at Blackburn, who's member of the House," and she's like, I'm sorry, just because she's a woman,
doesn't make
she
her,
says she's against the things that I stand for, and I'm voting for this man, and there's 100,000
new voters just from that
in like a 48-hour period.
But here's the thing: how much effort did it really take her to do that? Not much.
It was an Instagram post.
So the idea that it's really hard, it's really not. You do the post, boom, your influence will speak for itself. So I think what she has done, if you look at what Rihanna recently just did this week, and posting on her social channels about, hey, you got to get out and vote. I love what we're seeing because it just takes one person like that to say, hey, before I wasn't going to get involved, now I realize I have to get involved, and it becomes a snowball effect.
What I look at right now, where we stand, you talk about these issues and where we are in the level of divisiveness. I do believe you have a significant number of people, especially you look at the numbers of young people. I remember the last election, 2016, the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, they released their survey where it said who is excited or who said we're absolutely going to vote. 65 plus, off the chart. They had the highest number. Literally, it went from 65 plus is where they started, and as you went from 65 plus to the next group, which was like 48 to 65, and then you went from 30 to 47 or whatever, that bad boy was dropping. And the lowest number was 18 to 29. The numbers prove it. Millennials are the largest group in America. They're now larger than baby boomers. And if you don't use your power, they will run you over.
Completely. And I think that's why what we're seeing so much, especially when you look at who's controlling the country and how the country is being controlled, it is because the powers that be and those that know how the system works are taking advantage of the system for their own interests. So part of it when it comes to this millennial generation is education. You got to understand why it's so important, understand what's really at stake. So the things that you're seeing, that they may be seeing right now that make you angry, here's how you can affect change. And what I love is that what you're seeing, what's coming out of Parkland, is these younger group, of millennials becoming much more politically savvy, much more politically activated and organized.
Right.
Organization is key. It's like, an ant by itself can't do anything, but ants working together, can do things well beyond their own capacity. And I think the same thing goes for this younger generation to become united and activized on what's happening. And what I love what you're seeing right now is that when you look at a Taylor Swift, right, or you look at a Rihanna, or you look at those like a Kerry Washington, this generation, which gets so much inspiration from entertainment, this generation is influenced. I mean, every generation has their influence. Yep. But I would argue, by and large, when you talk about Harry Belafonte, or you talk about, how it was, in the 60s, 70s, and even 80s, there was, you had the entertainers, you had the church, you had the activists. In our day and time, the church is somewhat losing its influence. Entertainment influence is growing. The activists are losing their influence. So where do most, this younger generation go? They go to entertainment. And so the influencers' entertainment can actually move the needle. And when you see people become active, I love how this younger group of people are saying, wait a minute. We don't like what just happened with Kavanaugh. We're going to do something about it. We don't like the fact that there's no gun control. We're going to do something about it. And I do think that as tragic as these events are, they are becoming more galvanizing to get this younger group of voters, which is so influential, to get out and do what we know they can do, which is to help move the needle in a massive way.
When a group of black pastors met with Donald Trump at the White House, it was supposedly about criminal justice reform. But in Trump's opening statement, he mentioned about 10, 12 different issues. And one pastor in the meeting talked about how, Trump has done more for black people than Obama ever did. And I listened to all those different pastors as they went around that particular table. And I wrote a column afterwards where I said,
what do you say?
And I said, when you go to the White House, are you enamored with getting the invitation? Or do you bring your prophetic with you? The prophetic has to always supersede the partisan. I said, you can go through the Bible, and when individuals messed up, the prophets let them know you messed up. The prophets were not afraid of the king. They were not afraid of David. They were not afraid of any of them. And that's what offended me, that here you are a preacher, you are a pastor, you are speaking and teaching the gospel, and you're sitting there with the president, and not one had the courage to say, look, I appreciate the invitation. I appreciate coming here to talk about criminal justice reform. But Mr. President, I need to share something with you. You need to act like the president. Not one had the guts to say, Mr. President, character matters. How you behave matters. And how you behave is wrong. And we're gonna pray for you. We're gonna pray for there's a change in your behavior. Not one. That was the issue that I took.
Wow. You know,
And I think by not saying that, it speaks to young people. And they were like, that's why I ain't going to church. Because you don't have the courage to say what should be said.
Yeah, you know, when Jesus sent out the 12, he said, be wise as a serpent, be harmless as a dove. And in moments like that, and you know, it's like when you're dealing with politics and you're dealing with different people who have different agendas, part of it is sometimes before you even get in the room or before you're going to meet with somebody, you got to do your prep. You got to say, okay, this person is working an agenda. They have a certain degree of power. They have constituents, whatever it may be.
Right.
Let me do my prep before I get in the room so that I'm prepared to handle it. Because when you're going to someone else's turf, they control the environment.
Right.
So that is one of the biggest turfs in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So part of it is like, okay, I'm being invited to whatever the situation may be. I'm being invited. Okay, let me spend some time. Let me get my team together. Let me get my talking points together. Let me get some strategy in place so that when I'm in the room, I've prepared myself to maneuver and to handle and to respond.
What would you say to a young person who says, look, I'm trying to change our society, I'm trying to change this world. Man, I ain't got time for this church stuff. I just don't think y'all legit.
Oh man, I would say just because you see an artist in music that you don't like, do you stop listening to hip hop? No, it's like ridiculous. You see one artist do something that is what their choice was, has nothing to do with the whole industry or the whole art form of hip hop. You don't throw out hip hop. So the same way, if you see an artist that you don't like do that, I would ask you, don't do the same thing with the church. Because just because you see one minister, one man or woman do something that you don't agree with, don't use that as an excuse to demonize an institution that could actually help save your life. You know, I am who I am because I was raised in the church. You know, all the things that I'm able to do in the world are directly related to being brought up in a healthy church environment where I learned how to develop my gifts. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to deal with other people. I learned how to lead. All of those things that help me and other people become successful in society, you can learn in the church. So I would say to somebody that's young, I would challenge them. Everything that's in you, if you're trying to get it out, get into a good church, because that church will be a fantastic incubator for all the gifts that are in you. And when you find the right church, you will find that the others that you may have been looking at were the wrong people to look at. In any profession, I don't care what it is, you're always going to find people that you can point out that may not represent that profession to the best of their ability. But when you find those that do, then you begin to see what it really is about. So I would encourage that young person, you know, don't give up on God. Don't give up on your relationship with the Lord. Don't say, oh, you know, Jesus is this, Jesus is that. No, try him for yourself and be persistent. Find the right environment that works for you. And I guarantee you that you would see that environment to be transformative. That's what I would say.
Our last task. So you run up against that person or somebody else and they say, Bon, I hear you, but bro, I ain't got time for this voting stuff. It's just not, I don't think it's worthwhile. And all you got is 37.
I would say you need to vote because at the end of the day, when you look at the quality of your life, when you look at the things you want to see happen, not just for yourself, but for your children and your children's children, if they do not happen because you chose not to exercise your vote, do you have the courage to look in their eyes and say, I didn't have enough time. Sorry you don't have health care. Sorry you don't have a living wage. Sorry you don't have the money to go to school because I chose not to vote. And if the answer is you cannot look in their eyes, then I ask you the question, how can you not vote?
That was 31, but it works.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy, Devon Franklin. Get woke, be woke, stay woke, vote.